Okay guys, I'll be real. I'm a film guy. I don't know about you guys, but I was pretty television deprived. My family was against the whole commercials thing, so I just had a DVD player, meaning I'd watch the same movies over and over again. Spider-Man. In games, oh lord, you could just about forget it. To my parents, Halo was Hey Gun, and Call of Duty was Call of Gun, and Tomb Raider was Gun Raider. You get the picture. But it wasn't until our tiny 2-year-long vacation that I scrambled up $140 and bought myself a PlayStation 4. And I've just been playing the classics. I love stuff like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, Arkham Asylum, just these big budget, massive games. And then, being a film guy, I slowly started to see how films influence video games, and vice versa. I'll be real though, the vice versa is way less significant. I feel like in the long run I could see video games having a bigger influence on films, but as for now, it's just not happening. First off, cinema has had a strong 84-year head start on video games. And even then, I don't think Pong had a very big influence on The Godfather.
Look how they mess with my
Pong.
But nowadays, I would argue the biggest impact video games have had on the movies is maybe video game adaptations, and everybody knows how those are. The thing is, the reason why a game is fun is because you get to play them. And if it's a movie, then that whole thing is just lost. But more on that later. Not dissing video games as an art form at all, but I just feel like films influence video games way more than video games influence films. And there's 3 ways in which they do that. 1. Video games that are structured like films. 2. Video games that have the same tone as other films. And 3. Video games that aren't structurally or tonally similar to movies, but still feel cinematic. First one first. Now this one seems to be a little bit niche. I'm not very experienced with games, and haven't even touched some true classics, where games structured like films seem to be way more prevalent. But I have played the one that almost everybody pictures when you mention movie games. Uncharted. I've played all of Uncharted 1 and 2, started Uncharted 3 and don't really plan on finishing it, and have yet to play Uncharted 4. Still, I have a pretty good idea of the structure of these games. These are playable movies, through and through. Nathan Drake feels like your typical action-adventure protagonist. A mix of Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible and I guess, Nicolas Cage from National Treasure. It just oozes early 2000s globe-trotting adventure because, well, it is. Each set piece, each shootout reminds you that this isn't just go to objective A and do BS, but a carefully crafted adventure. These are set piece moments crazier than most $200 million movies. And the best part is, they put you right there. You're in it, babe, and you're in it for the long haul. Is the story like the greatest thing on earth? No. But it gets the job done, appeasing you enough until you get to play as the action hero of your dreams once more. See, the reason why the Uncharted games are so fun is because you're playing an average action movie. But the reason why video game movie adaptations don't work is because without the interactive element, you're just watching an average action movie, which isn't nearly as fun. Hell, I liked the new Uncharted movie more than most people, but it's not nearly as entertaining to watch Nathan Drake fly out of an airplane than to be Nathan Drake flying out of an airplane. Going back to the games themselves, I just find them so exhilarating. Like I said, I'm a film guy. So to see my interest represented in a subgenre of an entirely different art form is just so cool. There's one other game that's probably my favorite of all time that fits into this category, but I'll get into that later. Let's move on to number 2. I think experimenting with tone in a game leads to some of the most innovative projects ever, especially when they're aligned with other people's directorial visions. While Uncharted, for example, has a vibe quite similar to Indiana Jones, having a similar tone to popular movies and franchises but still having a distinct voice leads to something super special. You'll find that a lot in horror games, or at least horror adjacent. The Little Nightmares franchise reeks of grotesque Burton horror. Every uniquely designed boss, every environment felt akin to the likes of Corpse Bride, A Nightmare Before Christmas, etc. I love Tim Burton, except for that one thing, so this is cool to see. Yet it still has its own identity, with unique levels, creepy music, and a great atmosphere. Arkham Asylum has that too. Many horror movie tropes like creepy hospitals, scary insane asylums, and being stalked by a beast can be found all throughout horror film history. But it's badass to have Batman of all people be at the center of it. And while certain specifics of the game can be attributed to horror films, the entire energy of the asylum itself is entirely unique. I still get chills every time I hear that one little tune. The point is, tone and atmosphere mean so much in games, especially when they're as linear as Arkham or Little Nightmares. And I think it's cool when games borrow certain tones from film. I'm telling you, the day a game comes out with the same fast-paced tone as Baby Driver is the day you'll never see me again. God, a Baby Driver game would be so cool. Except for those two things. Finally, here's a third and most popular category, at least in most AAA games. It's when a game isn't really structured like a film, it doesn't really have the same tone as a film, but still feels cinematic nonetheless. Stuff that comes to mind are Ghost of Tsushima, a game inspired a lot by samurai culture and cinema. Hell, they have an entire mode that changes the art style to the likes of Akira Kurosawa. But this isn't just tone, it's different. The wide shots, the particle effects, the blood, it all feels straight out of a summer blockbuster hit. The tone isn't of Seven Samurai or something, but the aesthetic quality and even the way it's shot just feels like a movie. There's a reason why these games are so popular. Everybody wants to swing like Spider-Man, or duel a Sith Lord, or even Horizon Forbidden West. Like Ghost, it's a massive open world game, meaning you'll rarely find the crazy set-piece moments of a linear storyline. So if it's not even remotely structured like a film, how can it be cinematic? Because of the gameplay. There's nothing more breathtaking, more cinematic than fending off a giant robot rattlesnake. There's nothing more satisfying than panning your camera around in a cinematic fashion as you descend down a mountain as tall as a skyscraper. It just works. In the modern era of games, it's hard to find outright depictions of films, but these types of games do it subtly, even putting you in the director's chair in a way. See, I think games like Uncharted sometimes sacrifice their full gameplay potential to make it more like a movie, which is a very respectable choice. But these games just don't do that. And now it's time to talk about one of the best games that is not only structured like a film, but also feels like a true game, while still retaining its cinematic qualities. And that's God of War. I can confidently say that God of War is probably the best game of all time. Hot take, right? Not only does it have a great story, not only does it have great gameplay, not only does it have a beautiful world, but it combines all these aspects to create the perfect blend of game and film. The biggest aspect of this is how God of War is shot. It's all shot in one take, meaning there's no cuts. Each shot is held, allowing the player to truly immerse themselves in this mythological world, instead of being interrupted by loading screens. And the story too, oh my god, truly better than most blockbusters of our generation. It makes you connect with each and every character in such a way that actually made me sad when I finished the game, knowing I'd have to wait years for the next entry. But it's not enough to have the cinematography and story of a game be just like a film. If that's the case, then what makes God of War any different from Uncharted? I think that's where presentation comes in, much like those open world games I just mentioned. Does this feel more like a movie than those games? Definitely. But much like Ghost or Horizon, this is a game first. A game that doesn't rely on its cinematic qualities, but rather embraces them. I think it's getting to the point in the entertainment industry where games are soon going to be recognized as an art form that should not be trifled with. Listen, movies came first, and as the lead of the industry, games do and should learn from them, use them, embrace them. And while in my opinion, games have a long way to go before they become the frontrunner of entertainment, I don't think the idea of having interactive, sprawling stories be the mainstream is too far-fetched. And as long as games and films continue to learn from each other, embrace each other, I'll be there.